Well, it happened in front of mine, with our apartment. So, I was shocked. I'm traumatized. I still see the image, uh, everything.
This woman just watched a man get dropped in front of her building, shot from behind like he never even had a chance to turn around. The person who set that whole thing up was not some op from the streets. It was the mother of his own kids, all for a court date that she had coming up, and she was not trying to lose the case. What you just heard is a neighbor who watched Anthony Ray Wesley Jr. get gunned down outside the Jefferson Lakes apartments in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, on the morning of March 22, 2026. And based on the surveillance footage investigators pulled from that complex, what she described seeing is exactly what happened. What went down with AJ Wesley was not random. It was not a robbery gone wrong. By the time we finish this story, you are going to see just how planned and calculated every single step of this was, right down to the text messages she sent the night before the murder. But before we get into all of that, we need to understand who these people actually are, because this situation did not start on March 22nd. It had been building for years. Anthony Ray Wesley Jr. went by AJ to the people who knew him. He was 29 years old, born on July 11, 1996, and he lived at the Jefferson Lakes Apartments on Jefferson Highway in East Baton Rouge. The people in his community remembered him as funny, warm, and protective.
He was a great guy. Like I said, everyone loved him. It was nothing. It's not too much bad to say because you know how you say, you pray for a certain type of man and you finally get it. That's what it was.
AJ had 2 kids with his ex-girlfriend, Hope Jackson, a son born in 2018 and a daughter born in 2022. The 2 of them were never married and had been separated for some time before any of this happened. Like a lot of co-parenting situations, things between them were being handled through the courts, which is exactly how it is supposed to go. Now here is where Hope Jackson comes in. She is a 29-year-old woman from Baton Rouge with no prior criminal record. She was a mother with 2 kids who got so scared about a family court case that she allegedly decided the easiest way out was to have her children's father killed. Back in 2020, the Louisiana Department of Children and Family Services opened a child support case against Wesley on Jackson's behalf for their son. The state was already involved, working to make sure money was going to those kids, and for a while, the system was working in her favor. But then, in February 2026, AJ did something that investigators say changed the whole situation. He went to court himself and filed a petition asking for legal custody, official recognition as the father of both kids, visitation rights, and child support. A hearing was already set for April 2026 because he was done being kept away from his children, and he was using the courts to fix that the right way. That filing is the spark that led to everything that followed. By this point, Jackson had moved on and was with a 32-year-old man named Riddick Franklin. According to everything that came out of the investigation, Franklin is who she turned to when she decided she was not going to wait and see how that April hearing went.
Second person in an apparent domestic dispute where the killer shot down another man execution style. According to arrest documents, the second person charged was the victim's former lover who ordered his killing.
According to the arrest documents filed when investigators charged Jackson, she had been telling Franklin for weeks that she was tired of child support not being processed and scared of losing the upcoming hearing. She told him if AJ won in court, she was going to lose everything. Instead of getting a lawyer or simply showing up to that hearing, she kept going back to Franklin and asking him over and over if he was going to kill AJ for her. Franklin already had his own problems with Wesley. According to his own statements to investigators, the 2 men had prior arguments and altercations that Franklin called ongoing beef and disrespect. So Jackson was not trying to convince a neutral person to do something to a stranger. She was going to a man who already had a grudge and feeding that grudge until he did something about it. The pressure she put on Franklin got heavier as the court date got closer. And then, the night before the murder, she sent him a message that says everything about where her head was at. "I ain't gon' tell on you. You ain't gon' tell on me, so we straight." By the time the sun came up on March 22, 2026, Anthony Wesley Jr. had no idea he had less than 3 hours left to live. The morning of March 22nd started in the dark, around 3 in the morning, with Riddick Franklin pulling his white Dodge Ram truck into the parking lot of the Jefferson Lakes apartments and cutting the engine. He parked that truck and sat there in the dark for hours, just waiting for AJ Wesley to come home. At 3:06 in the morning, Franklin texted Jackson 2 words, "Not here." Jackson texted right back and asked, like, yet, or as in at all. After that, the two of them got on the phone together and talked for 21 minutes at 3 in the morning while her boyfriend was sitting in a dark parking lot outside her babyfather's apartment. The wait stretched on for hours, and around 5:30 in the morning, they were texting each other again, and then about 10 minutes after that, Franklin called her one more time. And then at around 5:40 in the morning, Anthony Ray Wesley Jr. came home. The surveillance cameras at the complex caught everything. The footage showed the shooter walking up behind Wesley and shooting him in the head before he even had a chance to react. After Wesley went down, the shooter stood over his body and kept firing. Then the white Dodge Ram left the parking lot. Deputies got to the scene just before 6 in the morning and found AJ Wesley's body on the sidewalk with multiple gunshot wounds. And right after the shooting, Franklin called Jackson and they talked for another 25 minutes. And then later that same morning, the two of them had another conversation that went on for more than 3 hours, on the same morning that AJ had just been killed. Franklin did not run or try to leave Baton Rouge. He went back to his house on Sharon Hills Boulevard, took the gun apart, and put the clothes he had been wearing into the washing machine, trying to get rid of the evidence. What he didn't know was that the cameras at that apartment complex had already recorded the truck, recorded his clothing, and recorded the whole sequence from start to finish. Now this is where the police work comes in, and investigators moved fast on this. Detectives reviewed the surveillance footage and pulled the license plate off the white Dodge Ram. That plate traced directly back to Riddick Franklin. The same day of the shooting, deputies went to his address on Sharon Hills Boulevard, watched him walk out to his truck, and stopped him right there during a traffic stop. They got search warrants for the truck and the house, and when they went through both, they found the handgun that was used in the shooting, the clothing that matched what the shooter had on in the surveillance video, and Franklin's cell phone. That phone was the thing that connected every single dot.
East Baton Rouge Sheriff investigators arrested Riddick Franklin for shooting Wesley in the back on March 29th at the Jefferson Lakes apartments. Then documents say Franklin stood over Wesley and fired several more times.
When investigators sat down with Franklin for questioning, he confessed. He told them he had gone to the apartment complex to squash the beef and cease fire, saying he wanted to settle things with Wesley and end the disrespect between them. But when AJ showed up, Franklin pulled out the gun instead of having that conversation and shot him multiple times. After that, he went home, broke the gun down, and threw his clothes in the wash. Franklin also told investigators exactly why he was there in the first place. He said Hope Jackson had been pushing him hard in the days before the shooting because of the child support situation and because she was scared of what was going to happen at the custody hearing in April. The court date was coming up fast. AJ's petition was moving through the system, and in Hope's mind, the only way to guarantee she wouldn't lose that case was to make sure AJ was never going to walk into that courtroom. Riddick Franklin was booked in East Baton Rouge Parish Prison on March 22nd, the same day of the shooting, and held without bond. 5 days later, on March 27th, after investigators had finished building out the full picture from the evidence and Franklin's statements, Hope Jackson was arrested and charged as a principal to second-degree murder. She was also held without bond.
East Baton Rouge Sheriff investigators arrested Riddick Franklin for shooting Wesley in the back on March 29th at the Jefferson Lakes Apartments. Then documents say Franklin stood over Wesley and fired several more times.
Now let's talk about what these two are actually facing, because the charges leave very little room for either of them to walk away from this. Riddick Franklin is facing 4 charges total. The main one is second-degree murder, and in Louisiana, that comes with a mandatory life sentence with no parole at all. On top of that, he's charged with illegal use of a firearm, obstruction of justice for taking apart the gun and washing the clothes, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. That last charge has extra weight because Franklin had already been through the system before. Back around Christmas 2015, he was part of a home invasion and 4 armed robberies in Denham Springs, Louisiana. He was arrested in February 2016, took a no-contest plea, and in June 2017, a judge gave him 12 years in prison. Under Louisiana law, a person with that kind of felony record cannot legally own or carry a firearm. Franklin had one anyway, and it is the same gun he used to kill A.J. Wesley. Hope Jackson is charged with principal to second-degree murder. In Louisiana, a principal is anyone who helped plan a crime, pushed someone else to carry it out, or made it possible in any way, even if they were nowhere near the scene. The law treats that person exactly the same as the one who actually did it. If you set it in motion, you are on the hook for the same charge. That means Jackson is looking at the same mandatory life sentence Franklin faces. Both of them are being held without bond and scheduled for court appearances in April 2026. No plea deals have been reported and no trial dates have been set yet. And this is not the first time a case like this has played out. There's a situation out of Navarre, Florida that looks almost exactly like what happened in Baton Rouge. A woman named Raquel Moore shared a young daughter with a man named Colby Vinson. After a long custody fight, a judge gave Vinson equal 50-50 custody on March 12, 2023. Moore did not accept that. That same day, she started messaging her former stepfather, Jason Curtis, who was living in Alabama. She sent him Vinson's home address, vehicle description, daily routine, and they discussed what kind of weapon to use. She wired him gas money for the trip. A week later, Curtis drove to Florida, waited for Vinson to get home, and shot him in the face and head multiple times outside his front door. Vinson's 4-year-old daughter was right there with him and was found sitting next to his body. The Facebook Messenger logs are what prosecutors used to put Moore away. She had tried to delete the app to cover her tracks, which only added a tampering with evidence charge. Curtis was convicted of first-degree murder in May 2024, and Moore was convicted on April 24, 2025, sentenced to life with no possibility of parole. That little girl now has neither of her parents. The Florida case shows exactly where the Baton Rouge case is headed, because the evidence here is just as strong, maybe stronger, since Franklin not only left a full trail on his phone, but also sat down and gave investigators a complete confession that pointed directly at Jackson.
It's shocking because, these are your kids' father. And why would you want to put the kids through that?
Harris mourns not only Wesley's death, but that this dispute escalated to such violence.
Hope and Anthony could have talked it over and maybe, came to a conclusion or whatever it was that they had going on with the kids. Like, it didn't have to come to this. He didn't have to lose his life.
That neighbor said it as plainly as anyone could. It did not have to come to this. A.J. Wesley went to court to fight for time with his kids. He was not out there making threats or showing up at anyone's door causing problems. He filed a legal petition and waited for his date in court, and that is what got him killed. Anthony Ray Wesley Jr. was laid to rest on April 2, 2026 at Greenbrier Cemetery in Ethel, Louisiana, after a service at Restoration Christian Center in Clinton. No information has been released about where those 2 kids are right now or who is caring for them. Their father was buried because he wanted to be in their lives, and their mother is sitting in a cell waiting on trial. Those children are left to grow up carrying all of that. If the Florida case tells us anything about how courts respond when everything lines up like this, both Hope Jackson and Riddick Franklin are going to be spending the rest of their lives behind bars. What do you think about this case? Do you think Hope really just planned the entire murder because of the custody situation, or was there something deeper? Let me know in the comments section. Also, click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this. See you in the next one.